Sorry, I was busy not admitting people.
I'm sending Andrew McGregor the link that's.
Oh, I'm not the host anymore. Yes, that's why.
Oh, got it. All right, Andrew McGregor just emailed and said the link doesn't work. I'm gonna send him the same link.
Yeah, it does. I just was doing something else, not admitting people. Not bad batteries.
Emailing it back now.
You claim the host for me, right?
Everybody couldn't figure it out on technology side or?
Yeah, I just emailed Andrew the link on the public calendar, so. That should.
That should work.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. So we'll start today. Hello. For new folks, I'm Eric Hewitt. And we're just gonna start this off with mostly a review of the minutes from last meeting, see if we have to put anything else on the agenda that we may have missed here. This is a proposed one that put together and threw out based on the last meeting and feedback from the school board that we got on September 6th. And so I guess the first thing would be to introduce anybody that's new here at the table that wasn't here a couple of weeks ago. So I believe you're our newest face. So if you want to introduce yourself and what you're hoping to bring to the table.
I'm Mary Beatty. I was kind of recruited by Robbie or Rob, sorry.
We grew up together.
Hoping that I could add something. No, I guess it would be more from a numbers perspective since I'm an accountant.
Excellent. Excellent.
And we've also got MI up here. Yep.
Oh,
he just left.
just left.
Yeah.
So Tim, I guess, want to introduce himself.
There it comes. Hey, Tim.
You want a grand entrance? Here you are.
Are you doing notes again? Introduce
Share
yourself,
with me.
Tim.
In case you leave.
Off mute.
I'm Tim Ide and I was muted. I'm sorry. No, I'll unmute.
You're good. We can hear
Very
you.
good. Oh, you're muted now. There you go. Speak up.
What do you want me to do?
Introduce yourself.
I'm Tim Ide and I live on Mountain View Drive and I'm a graduate of Danville School and I'm interested in this project.
Thank you.
All right.
Somebody should.
Well, thanks for joining, Tim. Glad Andrew was able to get through here. So the first thing that we'll want to do is just to look through the minutes before we get to some of the organizational stuff. So I don't know if everybody had a chance to review the minutes, and thank you, Sarah, for taking minutes. So last week we had a discussion, or 2 weeks ago we had a discussion quite a bit about our ability and our roles and what we can do. So we had some homework to go to the school board, so I have some reports from that. And then we also had other bits of homework to reach out to the community. Saw a bunch of Front Porch Forum and Facebook postings and all that. So we have some new members that have come in. Anybody have any questions about the last? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, under page 3 under
Well, I that students there.
Yep.
What was the map I was supposed to help with? I don't remember that conversation. I would just strike that, right?
All right,
That might have been me not being able to hear well,
Oh.
because I was taking notes via Zoom while
Yeah.
trying to listen, and that was not easy.
I was hoping to see a really cool map.
That might have just been me not hearing.
if you'd like to dabble in cartography, feel free to. Okay. Perfect. So anything from here that we'd like to add to the agenda? Marvin, you had some concerns and some stuff that you were gonna bring to us. Should we add that to the agenda this week or?
Well, you can, I read it, or scanned it, I read most of it, but the last end of it got really boring, so. But, I guess I should rescind my comment that they lied, they didn't lie, they made a couple statements that were wrong. From what I read, most of it is, they did make a couple incorrect statements, but most of it is leading toward, to me, stuff that is just yearly maintenance that we're not doing. As far as what they want to do for the $32 million. A lot of it was just happening. When I was here, it was just happening, and it's not anymore. And I just ran into that time and time again. And I thought, what's happened? You know, why is this even on there? Because it shouldn't be. But apparently it is on it because that's where it is. So that's the assumption that I made. Sorry.
Sure thing. Well, so we'll add to the discussion real quick, just a couple of those things. So if you have some of those, it'd be great to have concrete things to look at and understand.
Somewhere in there. All the way through.
No, that's fine. Because if it will be a material impact on our shared facts and the cost, then I mean, we need to know that.
Drastically.
Perfect. And you're typing away. Are you taking minutes for this meeting as well, Sarah? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Perfect. So anything else on the minutes from last meeting? And in case you did not see them, the school board was kind enough to post them on the school board website under advisory meeting. It's posted right along with their other meetings. These are the minutes were up there here this week. So these will get posted in the same place. So in case anyone needs to find them. Perfect. So quick review of our role here. So we are an advisory group. And I just wanted to reiterate some of this. This will dovetail into the next section of the report from the school board. We're an advisory group that is here to provide a recommended course of action for this facility that we're sitting in. And we are not a committee. We don't have any authority to make a decision. All we can do is provide the school board, of which there are a couple of members here, with our recommendation as to what we as representatives of this community believe the best course of action is going forward. They will make the final decision as to what we do. A couple of notes to that, because there were some discussion about our abilities to take votes, to limit membership, et cetera, last time. So I went to the school board meeting to clear up some of the board expectations and timelines and our abilities to do those things. According to our council, we are able to limit membership, take votes, et cetera, without a problem, with the full understanding that we have no authority to make a binding decision. And that's So we can absolutely take votes and come to a consensus and all of that as we form a recommendation. So I know we were a little hesitant to vote on anything last week or last meeting, but that's certainly the case. And our original timeline of November, the board was also in agreement that that might be a little hasty. And they want us to take the time to go through and understand the decisions that we're recommending as much as possible. And Melissa and David, did I leave anything out from that?
Pretty good.
Yeah, no, not that I can think of.
Excellent. So that's where we're at with our role and our ability to take votes and limit membership. So to that end, we will as we talk about an organization here and get into additional members, we'll want to understand exactly where our membership line is, so that we know who actually is responsible for making this recommendation. The next thing that we want to talk about, though, is the facilitator and moderator. We had nominated Tom Zabrowski. He's unable to make it tonight or any
Right.
Wednesday, as far as I understand.
Well, he has a group that meets tonight and a week from tonight. And he thought that they would be changing their evenings after that, so he will ask them, and we did get to get with a facilitator today who is interested only if Tom is the moderator, because they've got a working relationship.
Okay.
And that individual would only drop in maybe up to 3 instances if we have issues that we need to work through. She is an expert at that
Gotcha.
and would be very good.
Okay.
So.
Excellent.
And she didn't say no. So that's what our answer was as we left the meeting.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's all good. So I guess in 2 weeks would be another Wednesday that we would
Right.
hope that Tom would be able to make it. Is
I will get that confirmed with him tomorrow, because he meets with the group tonight, and he plans to bring it up tonight supposedly.
okay. Yeah, and I mean, and we might even get to the point where, I mean, I don't know if Tom will be, if the group stays, I think, this small. I mean, I'm not sure that Tom's skill set will be particularly
Well, it would be good if we did get a if we have any issues that we kind of are at a stands to get along. This person has skills
sure.
to bring us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. David?
There'll be a time when we have 40, 50, 60 people in the room when we're Tom's talent.
Yeah.
Will be treasured.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I've only seen him work at town meetings, so my admiration for his skills are in very large groups, and so of which he's been wonderful. Yeah, so I also wanted to go back really quickly to the role of the group. I forgot I had mentioned to mention the open meeting law. As an advisory group, we are not subject to the open meeting law. However, as we discussed last week, we would probably want to adhere the open meeting law as much as can be reasonably expected. So that essentially means that communication about this among us members has to happen here at meetings. And if we have a quorum, which is a school board member, either Sarah or Larry, and four of us, four community members, us being the community members, that would institute a quorum, and that would be a meeting that we would have to take minutes, all that type of rigmarole. So we will adhere as much as we can to the open meeting law, but knowing that it's not, we're not bound certainly by it, but open meeting laws are certainly good laws to have on the books, and we don't want to. This is a decision, I think, that we don't want any type of
Legal challenge.
perception, yeah, that we did not do this in an open and fair manner, for sure. So that's, as I noted in my email, as we're coordinating, don't respond back with discussion points about the building, et cetera, to that email group. That email group was for coordination of agendas and meetings, et cetera. Feel free to add stuff to agendas, or say, hey, I want to talk about this at the next meeting, whatever the case may be. But yeah, don't have a discussion in that email. Okay, excellent. The next thing that we had to note was the school board was looking for a regular spokesperson. I served in that de facto role here in September. I'm happy to continue that unless there's objections, or if somebody else feels strongly in another role. But I just wanted to point that out, that I would, the school board's looking for at least somebody to attend every school board meeting going forward from this group to report on our progress and any questions that we may have.
About that, and you who are agreeing to do that.
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. I do. You're done.
All right.
Look at the people standing in line to do that.
That's a one member.
Perfect. So I will continue going there, and maybe let's stay as short as the last time I went there. So. Excellent. So we had agreed last meeting that this meeting would be where we added any additional members. And this would sort of be the last open call for members. We might add members in the future. We have total control of how that goes. So to that end, Mary and Tim, you're here. I assume you would like to be added to the membership of the group and help out, or unless you disagree. But excellent.
No.
Okay. So we
That's a yes to.
I was just saying, which no, and how about Tim? You want to?
Yeah, Tim.
Tim.
I'm going to pass at this time.
Okay.
Okay, well, you're welcome to join any meeting as a member of the public. Thank you.
Robert,
Excuse me. Did I miss something? I'm reading.
Oh, I thought Marvin added on last night.
I did too.
Yeah, and Marvin.
I'm sorry, I didn't see him.
I don't
I
recall.
just don't see him on the list.
Oh, I didn't add. I'm sorry, Marvin.
My feelings are hurt.
No.
I was copying from last week's, and your name was on the last week, so I apologize.
Can we get Mary, can we get your email?
BEATTIE.
Yes.
Oh,
Want to get your email to add to the email group?
MBD.
Hold on, sorry. That's not quite
Write
there.
it down. M
You're gonna write it down, okay?
BEATTIE,
Yeah.
MBEATTIE.
At bdcpa.com.
BDCPA, and there's no punctuation or spaces between BD and CPA.
You don't have an email? Okay.
I don't have one that's working right now.
Okay,
I don't see it happen.
Okay. I was gonna say, I didn't have one for you, so I wanted to make sure we asked.
But I'm mad, so no, I can bring it back up, so.
Sarah,
You
can I add?
Yep.
So,
You should be able to.
I don't remember what we set up. I know which one.
You just missed the agenda about 12 hours early. That's
Facility. It's not really a facility. Is that the one?
Yeah.
And I know we heard from John, but is it safe to assume that the rest of the folks on this list are still interested? They're just not. I don't know if anybody heard from anybody else, just to,
I know John said he wasn't going to be here.
yeah,
But he is very interested in it,
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I think it's important to have the fire chief on yours.
Yeah, I haven't heard from, I know Gary showed up last time and he's not here this week. Yeah, and
Doug,
Doug, we had added a while ago,
yeah,
so
Doug-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Doug, wasn't gonna be able to make it here. He had a family commitment. He wasn't gonna make it on time, but he will try to. It was a very last minute thing and
no worries.
In the email group, John Blackmore is on there. And Doug's on there as well,
And Gary too.
and Gary's on there.
Right, are we expecting that they're returning, that they're? Does anyone know if?
I would think so.
They want to be considered members and
Yeah.
attend.
And we have Sean on the email list too.
Sean,
Sean McNamara.
we do,
Yes.
and I know he and Randy both were planning to be on the committee, on the advisory group. But
And
just
then-
weren't around today.
And Katie's on there from White is on there from last week,
Mhm.
and then Jonathan Austin Short is on there too.
Did we have any additional student representatives that were looking to join? I know that you were.
I've been asking,
And staff and like.
yeah.
Not yet.
Nobody's, there's a
Okay.
couple staff who still might ask if they can attend.
Mhm.
But they weren't available tonight.
Okay, that's fine. Excellent. So we've added Mary and Marvin as voting members, so any objections to that? Yeah,
how many does that make for voting members?
I think it's 18.
Our staff or our staff or
18. It is a lot.
now does that includes everyone, staff and the board members?
Yes. Yeah.
So everybody on that list
Yeah. yeah.
will have a vote. It's not like, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Marvin's 18.
personally, I think it's
17.
getting very close to, or may have surpassed a limit here. If,
What kind of limit? Are you thinking?
to have a group of like 30 or 35 people voting,
Mhm,
I think would be way too many.
mhm.
Should we cap it at maybe 21, no more than 21? That way, if you have a couple more members that are coming in,
I think what we suggested was that we were gonna stop adding members tonight.
Mhm.
I thought that's what we said at the last meeting. Was that we, so that we could move forward without constantly recalculating that.
Well, but you did bring up that if we have an individual in the future who might want to join.
You were talking about.
Well,
No.
no, that
He'd be invited.
that
as a
individual wouldn't actually be on the. Just on the list, but just to be, yeah, so that, but, I think it'd be good to be flexible like that up to, if you want. It is a good to keep in mind that our word is also to spread the word, you know. And that means a larger group, you know, if you're gonna. And engage the whole town, in other words, takes people.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is sort of our secondary purpose after we make a recommendation is that once we've gotten behind a recommendation, we have to get the rest of the town behind this recommendation. And that is incumbent on us to go out to the community, however that happens. Not just sort of conduct meetings here in the school library, but to actually get out there. And make sure that people know what we chose and why we chose it, because this is big, this is hairy, this is there's a lot of factors that go into this type of decision. The report is massive and very dense, as Marvin mentioned. It gets very boring at the end. It's going to be tough to get through. So that is definitely a part of this. But I think to David's point, 21 is probably a good cap to have in mind, that we certainly will take no more than this should be. I think 21 is a good cap to have in mind, is hey, we're not going to take any more than 3 more additional people, so that
And you should have an
11
odd
remains our
number.
majority.
Yeah.
Yes, yep. Yes, 18 now, we can split 50. What's that?
I said, wouldn't it be horrible if it was a tie? So an odd number is perfect.
Yeah,
And the process just wouldn't be done yet.
yes, it's
We have to come to a consensus to bring it to
Yeah.
the board.
it is a process. All right.
We're nowhere near it.
Yes.
We're giving up in the skills.
All right, so before we get to the discussion of all that, no more additional members. She'll be good. All right, onward and upward. Okay, so the next thing I had on here was tax impact. Mark Tucker had been looking into a bunch. I was hoping he would be able to join us. Apparently he had to go out of town. And so he's unable to share some of the information that he has gleaned with, I believe he met with Winooski. And some other folks. So hopefully we can get that in a couple weeks, specifically around some of the bonding. And how that will work and what that will look like in terms of our tax impact, because obviously we all have that question. And will be the most important question that comes up when we take this to the town is, what does this mean on my taxes? And so that will certainly be there. I did want to talk a little bit about Act 72 before we got into that as well, though. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Act 72 presently, or just passingly. So I was really curious. Marvin brought up last meeting, hey, there's minimum requirements, it's 30 square foot per student, 50 for kindergarten preschoolers. And when we had asked the architect about like what the designs were and what that was like, he was it was wishy-washy. I didn't get like a number from him of like how it depends on the space, etc. So I was like, I didn't really understand that. So I went and I looked, and Marvin, your memory was spot on those numbers. They come from the 1998 Department of Ed capital guidelines for the minimum square footage for new schools. They haven't been updated since 1998 because the state stopped funding school construction in 2006. And Act 72 is the state telling the Department of Education to come up with a new program to do that. So we should actually have new guidelines for this January 15th, 2023. So that is when those guidelines are due, as well as a way that the state will be funding construction projects. So as of right now, we've been bonding these out. So know that the tax impact that we hear from markets about like what Winooski, et cetera, have done, this could completely change on its head January 15th. As far as I can tell, nobody has a really good idea of what the Department of Ed is doing, unless you guys know.
Do we ever know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you guys have heard it, you guys would have heard anything before I did.
Quick question on that.
Yeah,
Is the act, is the legislature looking for the department to report back to them, or are they going to move by January 15th on whether or not they're even going to direct the department to?
so on or before, it's in the legislation that on or before January 15th, the State Board of Education shall update and adopt the capital outlay financing formula, so
By when did you say? January
15th,
of 23?
23.
Okay, so we should get them in a few months.
So it is very imminent that we will have brand new capacity utilization numbers, as well as actual capital financing from the state that I don't know if will qualify or whatever the case may be. I don't know what the bounds of that are, but this could completely upend what we think of as our tax impacts. That we have to just put down the notes. Sure. It is from section 2 B. So I did want to like bring that up. I don't know if anybody else had any ideas of X-22 or heard anything from that, but that was something that
Thank you.
That's good to know.
no worries. Just like I said, it didn't sit well with me that, you know, it's like, well, what are the capacity requirements? And it was like, well, it
Architects should have that.
Right.
I'm sure they do, but.
So there's best practices for architecture, but there's no state guidelines currently because the state guidelines are
So other gate.
by law null and void. So
Do those take effect immediately or, and is it, there might be some retroactive or some,
it should only be forward looking.
yeah, but we don't know how far forward looking, like, we don't know it takes effect right then and at that point in time, or.
The legislation says they have to adopt it by January
Okay,
15th, so
I would assume that any like builds that are currently in process wouldn't have to make those changes, but any builds that
Right.
start after,
Yeah.
which would be us. For any changes we make would have to take all of those changes into account.
Mhm.
So,
And it would depend on how much they change the funding structure.
Right.
If they're just coming up with new space guidelines, that's one thing. If they're actually changing how the state funds these projects, that's gonna be a totally different boat.
yeah, the legislation is mostly about changing how the financing is actually run and how that actually works. And the guidelines are just part of what qualifies you for that financing. So
I think that's really. I think the state, if I had to second guess the Department of Ed, which I shouldn't probably do. or the agency,
He's a betting man, apparently.
I'm gonna say that they're looking at this now and realizing that this report that came back about where school buildings are and how many school buildings are moderate at the end of their useful life, that they're gonna continue to see this issue come up, and they're gonna continue to see tax impacts way higher than could be dealt with, and they have to do something else.
Right.
And the other point that I thought was worth thinking about as we discuss what the options could be, is that those old numbers were for that purpose. And the size of the rooms and the quantity and quality of the programs that we are currently shoehorning, is that the right word, shoehorning?
Yeah,
Into the building is remarkable.
right.
And that, we have rooms that don't fit modern education standards.
Yeah.
They might fit the 96 guidelines for finance, but they don't fit what we're looking for teachers to be able to do with students.
Right.
Or, we have, and you've all seen the video or been on the tour.
They just don't work.
Yeah, we just have a number of spaces being used that are just not okay for kids or teachers. And we're using them and things are okay, but they're not good enough for our kids. I don't think they're good for our kids.
Yeah, when you have 20 kids in a room that's
As big as this square footage of your tables, right?
exactly.
Not quite, but that's what it feels like. So.
Well, you've moved into a yurt, so
Almost. Almost.
We could have a bunch of.
Right.
Well,
Way through that, and kids are learning a lot in the process.
as much as I'm sure love you have for the step peoples, I'm sure a yurt was not your first choice of
Yeah, no,
I think he's wanted a year for a long time.
I do, but it's certainly not effective for.
No, it's not the ideal space for.
It's designed to be an outdoor classroom, and that's what it is.
yes.
It's
Uh,
very cool.
Excellent. So I did want to bring that to our attention as we start talking about what Mark has learned, that's gonna be our worst case scenario as we talk about that. So the state could drastically shift things for us. And make things a little bit better. So just keep that in mind as we start talking about those tax impacts, so. And when they are brand new, nobody's gonna know anything about them, and so I'm sure it's gonna take us a little while to actually figure out. What that even means, but that is. Also something to note that we should. That will affect, I think, our timeline of making a decision and making a recommendation as well. Knowing that the Department of Ed is. Has a very big deadline coming up. So. So with that, we can move to sort of a broader discussion. Marvin, this is sort of where I wanted to come back to you. You said there was some large things that should not be on there in the report. Can you point us to a couple of those things and
Well, I can, quickly, because it could take a lot of time, because there's a lot of them, but. The ones that jump out, windows installed in the 89 renovation. Are of poor quality. I don't disagree with that, but. These are all new. I replaced these in like 15. You know, and they're throughout. I mean, a lot of those windows are new and they're up to date in the last 5 years. So. You know, that's a.
So I'm sorry, I didn't understand. The report says the windows are from 1989.
1899.
That would be
89 edition.
from the 89
A
edition
lot of them have been replaced.
of the 89 edition, or these, this is the
Well,
older.
this is the 72, but
Right.
it joins quickly into the 89, so we just went right through.
So
down the
some of
line.
these are newer than 89,
Yeah,
in the 89 edition.
Which ones are, everything in this whole hallway?
up down this back side, I think most of the classrooms have been down the library, the 2 classrooms down here, the junior high classrooms, they've been,
I believe it was a weather issue because it was,
now
getting
the fixed windows, most of them are operational windows, the fixed windows are still the 89 or 72, I mean, depending on the vintage down through there, but they weren't
Okay.
replaced, it was all operational windows. So they're newer. So that led me to, you know, if you start talking about replacing all the windows, we're replacing windows that are less than 10 years old. Another thing was roof systems, checking on the, you know, all the roofs, you know, when I redid the roofs, I phased them because we couldn't afford to do the whole school. So I did like the gym, the other gym, it may be this level classrooms, and I did them year after year after year after year, but they were done with 25-year reinforced rubber roofs. And after they were installed, because I lived through the original 89 roof that lasted 1 year and leaked everywhere. They had bad glue, they had bad rubber. Senco was a company that went out of business, so you had no place to fall back onto, and then the company that installed it went out of business, so. When I did, I said, okay, we're gonna put new roofs on, and then we're gonna, every summer, we're gonna check them, recheck them, recaulk them, patch any little holes that they can find. And we did that for 20 years. When I left, I think that program stopped, so now we aren't doing that, so.
Marvin,
We
the
did.
committee or the group that did this, the engineers were provided with a report from Palmieri Roofing.
Yeah.
Addressed to you November 21st, 2017.
Yeah.
That evaluated the condition, that's what they were operating on. Palmieri's recommendation was, they talked about one done, I can print the whole thing, but one done in 2001, one in 2002. They said, recommend start budgeting now in the next few years on the first sections of roofs that got installed in 2000 and 2001. Generally, flat roofs have a life expectancy of about 20 years before they start requiring
Right.
repairs. Since Marvin has been good about reporting any leaks to us quickly and keeping up on general preventative maintenance,
Yeah,
2017, this will allow you to reuse your current insulations that were paid for in the current roof systems. So therefore, this would save us the cost of a complete tear off this time around, which can get very expensive. So, yeah, they're talking about outer membranes.
And
Yeah.
that regular maintenance has been done too.
It has been.
Patching, yeah, Palmieri, we're still using Palmieri
Yearly or just when you had a problem?
No, they did an inspection July 22nd.
Okay, so they're keeping up with that program.
Yeah.
That's a good,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's an excellent program. And it doesn't cost you that much.
Right.
So,
And the actual report says that the roof was noted to be in good condition in 2015. But they're getting to be beyond their serviceable life, which is commensurate with
yeah,
the Palmieri report. So,
that's good.
okay.
Yeah.
So then,
I wouldn't disagree because it's been a long time.
Yeah, been a long time.
perfect.
Good.
Insulation on the roofs, 37 and 57 building, no insulation on the roofs. No, I think when they did the roofs, but I didn't talk to Paul Mayer and I should have. I think all the roofs had insulation put on when they put the new roofs on, because you can't put rubber on boards for one thing. That's a poor roof to use for that example. They cannot put rubber on boards. So I'm sure they put insulation down, and at the time it was 3 inches of insulation, so. I'd have to check with Paul, well, it wasn't even Paul Mary, because at the time it was. Yeah, Paul Mary's stuff, all that. What were their names? They went out of business and they went 3 or 4 times.
So I believe that the folks who did that particular section of the report, the engineers, did a core sample. in a couple
Yeah.
different roofs.
They did a core sample on that roof?
Yeah.
You found no insulation?
That's what they put in the report, and
I
you know,
can't imagine,
yeah, but I do know they did some core sections. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that's actually,
I can't imagine there's none up there, because it would be impossible to lay on that roof, but. Probably try to put them on there.
Yeah, we could know.
Remark that,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, there was this, this was strategies they talk about,
Yeah,
but, I don't see anything about the samples. Here.
yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay, well, that's a small issue, but
But even still, it sounds like the roofs are at the end of their serviceable life
yeah.
anyway, so that we would be looking to replace, and at that point. We would have to put insulation, regardless of what's there currently, up to current code, which I'm sure, because Vermont has been jacking up the insulation code.
Or you could do an Irma, which is an inverted assembly.
Mhm.
That's expensive, but it does, stretch out over a long time. And Irma roof is the inverted roof matrix assembly or something like that. And what you do is you got the membrane on a substrate. And then on that, you can put lots insulation, and then on that you've got these papers that keep the insulation down.
Mm.
And if you have a lot of rain, it might
Right.
flow. But it is extremely expensive, but they'll use it up in Alaska.
Mm.
It was very good for these conditions.
I think it's cold up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it sounds like though, we're not going to escape from roof and re-insulating,
Placing anyways
yeah,
with insulation.
this roof. Yeah. No matter which, I mean, yeah, we might want to go with a longer type of system than we currently have. Because every 20 years, having to look at the roof, especially on a building
These
like
last
this, it's
longer.
tough.
I usually get infrared and ultraviolet on the actual membrane that kind of it breaks it down. But with the Irma, you've got that protection.
Right.
And it lasts longer.
Yeah, was there an infrared scan of the school done in January? Or when, because they did this in January 2020, right? I'm curious, because usually they do, like, especially in the dead of winter, you'd expect them to do an infrared.
That was, I thought that was part of
Well,
the July,
it was.
an option for the
It was
July.
proposed by Palmieri. I don't know what happened in January, but in the July report, it's one of the proposals they made at the end of their report that we should consider an infrared roof moisture survey.
Mhm.
And I would have to check with Sean to see exactly what I know that we entered into, and that we're doing some of the work. I don't know exactly which work we chose. I don't have that information.
I don't recall them doing it as part of this report.
That's interesting, in
Yeah.
the middle of January, because it's, yeah,
Would make a time.
it's the best time to do it, actually, yeah,
Because we can spot the hot spots.
right, yeah. I'm afraid to take an infrared camera to my house, but
Well, I've got one.
no, my dad's a mechanical engineer, he's been threatening me. Anyway, Marvin, did you have anything else, or was that
Well, there's a lot of little things, but everything is wearing out, as you know. The emergency lighting, they said that there weren't any in the auditorium. There's a panel up there with no, probably the battery's been dead for who knows how long, but the whole school, all the hallways and multi-purpose rooms have emergency lighting. And there's battery pack, there's 13 battery packs throughout the schools.
A significant portion of that was actually recently replaced and updated, so there was some new emergency lights.
Emergency light.
Yeah, even, yeah, since that report.
Yeah.
even.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So gym emergency lighting, I could take off my list to worry about or no?
emergency lighting is,
I mean,
there's,
Thin.
at least in the high school hallway here and the bathrooms up front, there's LED emergency lighting now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could ask Sean about
Yeah,
it
yeah, I'll
for
check,
sure.
I'll check with
But
Sean.
a lot of there's like you said, there were 13 battery packs. So a lot of those bigger battery packs were when they
They age.
Aubin or I forget when the Pierce or Aubin, but whenever the electrician came through, those were harder to replace than to just go with the modern lights with a closer battery to them. So anyway,
Yeah.
long story short, there's new emergency lighting in a lot of the building.
Okay, so that must have been taking place after this
Yes,
report, because
correct, yeah.
this report was done in 2019, 2020.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of the tricky piece. Like we have this report. At the same time, some of these critical systems like emergency lighting, we
Right,
couldn't just wait to see.
Right.
And the
Right.
air handling and stuff like that.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we kept moving on some of those.
that's fair. Oh, thank you for that. Okay. There we go. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Marvin. That's it was good to get good idea, unless you had anything else you wanted to bring up.
No, I don't.
Perfect. Okay, and I agree with you. It's it is quite a dry report, but that's all right. Yeah, that's so we can dive into real quick the options that we have. I don't know, so Molly made a site that she posted that has not only the report on there, but also the overview presentation that Truex Collins provided. So we have in that a couple of our of the options that we're actually considering here. So our keep me honest here. We have a reduced expansion, a new wing expansion, and a new school as the three options that we are considering here. The school board has taken off the table any sort of school choice, closing the school, etc. So just to level set that we could recommend that, but they have stated already that they're not going to entertain that recommendation. That's my understanding. Thank you. So as we look at this, that leaves our project options as a new wing out here. Which is option number one. Option number two would be several new classrooms. I don't know that I would call it a new wing, out off of where the kindergarten classroom is over here in the front. And then option three would be a new school out on the current soccer field. So just to review those, so any questions on those? Did everybody see those in the plan? Any questions as to what the purpose of these options are or anything like that, especially as we start to dive into some of this.
Could we just go back? You said the school board said there's sort of like extremes, like you do nothing, which is not possible. And then the other, you said, what would that? No, what? That you said was off the table. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah,
There was a request to look at what closing the high school down would do for the numbers. And so that had been evaluated, I think, twice.
Right, and
Yeah,
to
okay.
offer school choice to
Oh, okay.
every high school student.
Right.
Okay, and what was that, a cost prohibitive kind of?
Yeah,
Or-
very, yeah.
Very, yeah.
Uh-huh. And well, what I was thinking, if they had questions that the people are still gonna have questions, I was just wondering if you had like, that you can put that out there, that why it's not an option, that it's way too expensive to.
Mhm.
You know, even consider that, so that, you know, kind of takes the question off the table.
Yeah, I think that's would be good to have
Mhm.
part of the discussion up front, yeah, up towards the front of the presentation to say. This is what we can't do, we,
Right.
you know,
Uh-huh.
And here's why.
yeah.
Then that's the options.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a question. Would it be good if the architects are presented the schemes on the internet to our whole group? So we all have the same. You know. Now, it's probably not in the budget, so, but is it a good idea or not? you think?
To have Truex come.
Well,
Virtually
even
even.
on this screen, presenting on the screen.
I mean, I think it's worth an ask. I think Larry and I can talk to Mark and see where.
Yeah. Would that be a good idea for everyone to?
That would be what they presented on the walkthrough though, right?
Right.
Oh,
I think similar, but not doing a whole presentation, so.
yeah,
Um,
very small. About perhaps say a half an hour at the most.
Yeah, and much, I mean, maybe more, a little bit more of a discussion, more of what they've done for the school board a couple of times. Would be what I would think.
It's just a question I had.
Yeah, I would really like to understand what the, to your point, like, what does the whole new wing versus the reduced option actually get us? Like, what are we getting with a brand new wing? What are we giving up if we do the reduced option there? And what compromises are we even making with a new wing?
Yeah, I would stay with any of this construction with the existing building. You have a big disruption of construction,
Huge. Yeah.
huge.
Mhm.
And that is an expense and it's a disruption of your quality of delivery of education.
Mhm.
And,
Plus on top of 2 years of
yeah,
COVID,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a big thing, especially for the younger
Yeah.
kids. That's a huge hit.
yeah, somebody brought that up at one of the community night tours. That would lose at least that would impact 2 school years.
Yeah.
Like you said, and then on top of. Yeah, on top of COVID would be a lot.
To that end, nationally, we've seen pretty big knocks in test scores from COVID. Are we experiencing the same sort of drop in like our student performance here at Danville that we're seeing nationally, or is it, are we weathering the storm better or worse?
It's tricky because we only have that data from this past school year, because we
Okay.
didn't have to collect it by the state, so like that's at the state assessment level, we don't have it, so I think looking at it. After this spring's data will be interesting to see, but that's where a lot of the federal funds that we've gotten are being used to put into intervention work and stuff to buffer that, because we do anticipate that that's happened to an extent. Because it's happened everywhere, so.
Yeah, well, it'd be good to sort of have a, hey, we've already.
Yeah.
Have we hurt the kids? By how much have we hurt the
Right.
kids? And yeah. Well, and I mean, test score is obviously a terrible metric to say how you've actually hurt a kid, but. It's a metric, I guess.
And I think to Rob's point too, there's a huge cost component in options 1 and 2 that reflects the moving and I don't know how,
Logistics.
yeah, like the logistics of trying to renovate and live in the same place. If you've ever done that within your own house, it's not an easy thing to do. And so then add 200 plus elementary kids or high school kids or whatever on top of that. And so there's a cost, a large cost impact that has to do with having to move kids gradually around the building and renovate in one area, displace kids and then move kids and all of that. So that's a component of those two.
Now to that end, if we do any addition onto this existing building. By code, we have to touch the rest of the building, right? That's
Just be connected.
that's where we have to bring the whole rest of the building up to
Up to
code,
code. Yeah, that's the piece of it.
which is
Just
that huge chunk of
30
30
million.
something million, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sprinkle system alone would be astronomical.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even the sprinkler system that's currently installed is copper pipe as opposed to black iron,
Yeah,
and so that would have to be replaced.
that was a Band-Aid job, just for all storage areas over 50 square feet is what it was.
Right.
Yeah,
And to do a correct sprinkling system, you have to have 2 hours of water storage, not using the Danville site, but your own storage of 2 hours of water that goes through the sprinkler system. That's a huge storage.
yeah.
Is it sweetened sprinkler or is it just straight water?
That's I think straight water.
They have to use copper on a sweetened system. That'd be even more concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, we had to replace a lot of the heads just because of corrosion from the fact they were installed into copper. to begin with. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them just corroded through.
Never been used.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's good.
I have a sprinkler system in my house because it used to be a bed and breakfast and had a head let go.
A lot of water.
It was a shocking amount of water very quickly.
I
Yeah.
worked in a school that had a small isolated fire, so in a closet. And the entire system, I think, of a much larger building than this drained into that closet and the auditorium and the carpet and wood floor and bad.
I guess the other question I had about these designs is the option 1 and 2 are focused on elementary school expansions. Are we concerned about expanding the elementary school and not the high school because
Yes.
elementary students
Oh, sorry.
become high school students?
Because actually, it ended up, I think, with a greater area to expand the high school classroom
Yeah.
than the other classrooms. See, because they were so constrained,
Right.
we had to expand them more.
Yeah, and I think you could probably speak to it really well. Building a new elementary area that's designed for elementary students, because a lot of the spaces, there's only a few rooms that are actually designed for little people. Makes the most sense versus retrofitting areas that are designed for bigger people, and making them fit little people, but then moving 15, 16 plus classrooms out of this area
Mhm.
into a different area, gives that space for high school and middle school.
Okay.
So. And then that's where part of that 30 million is renovating these existing spaces and making it. Making it good for 21st century learning, so.
Yeah, this question came up before too, sort of why the folks in elementary and the high school, we really want our high school to thrive. Are we not addressing that? And the answer was we were. The Truex plan, well, both of the Truex plans involved moving the middle school into where the current elementary school is in the 1934 building.
I did.
37.
Yeah, Cabot's 34 or 37, one of the two. So moving the middle school into there, which when you think about it, that's 2 grades and what's now housing.
That's right. That's right. It's-
So that does, it frees up a lot of area here that's currently occupied by the middle school to be reformatted for better high school programming.
And allows middle school to have a dedicated space
Right.
that can meet their needs instead of being sprung out over an entire hallway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
not
you've got,
even-
and they've been having, they used to be like under where the
Yeah,
music
what
room
they've
is.
got works, but
Yeah.
we should make it so much better for middle schoolers.
David, you have a-
I think it could be pointed out better that, well, how can we just adding on for the elementary? Someone could perceive that elementary moving is going to free up that space. So I think that could be presented better, that by doing this, you know. I know some people that think strictly, well, if you're doing this for elementary and we go from 25 kids to 30 kids, 35 kids, then, as they step up to middle school and high school, will there still be that same number? So, pretty much how you said it is very easy to understand, and I think that could be presented better.
Well, and I think, one of the things that we had talked about at one of the walkthroughs was that one of the goals for the high school here would also be to get more choice students, to
Yes.
pull kids away,
Right.
because that means that they're going to be bringing in their tuition to here, which then alleviates certainly some pressure on us as a town. So if we can provide a school attractive enough for those choice students, that also benefits us considerably, was my understanding of that as well. So
Definitely, and to continue to modify programming that's going to do that. When I think about the Connect program, the community-based learning program this year, 6 out of 8 students currently enrolled are choice students.
really?
Interesting.
Wow.
And it wasn't that we went out and specifically recruited it that way, it just ended up that way. But
Say it again.
6 out of the 8 current Connect community-based learning students are choice students. So.
Now that is the program that you began this year,
Last year.
or last year?
Yes, right.
And that brings in 60 grand, or there's something like that?
There's federal funding attached. There's federal funding attached to it.
Yeah.
But
But the tuition student.
tuition students still, that's something that we look at in next year's budget, sort of like where are the tuition students?
Yeah.
But there's, I don't have the exact numbers right now, how much extra
Okay.
funding we're using to get that off the ground. A lot of the one-time purchases for that, like the bands that are gonna be paid off in a couple of years, are all federal funded. So.
Yeah.
That's a
I
plus.
do think from doing tuition interviews this summer and kind of checking in on a number of our tuition students as I'm learning the kids, I think that we gain tuition students when we have programs like Connect. I think there's clear, the number shows it. I don't know if they came here saying, I want the Connect program, but they came here saying, I want a school that has options that will meet my needs.
Yeah.
Because I came from a place that didn't.
Good.
And so we're meeting kids' needs. Some of them are challenging need to meet in a variety of different programs, and some of them are all-stars and they're all great kids. But I do think that the options that we offer are attractive to a lot of families, and I think that's a
Okay.
good strength. It was attractive to a principal candidate, I can tell you that.
have we got any other Google districts within easy reach of here that are bringing in these kinds of programs that are special?
Yes, I think,
Like Twinfield.
yeah, I don't know specifically what Twinfield offers. I know that other schools are creating other programs to meet needs of kids as well. Like, we're not the only school doing this, but we're just doing it really well.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe a little ahead of the curve. You know, I know that Hazen Union is working hard to grow different programs. I'm a resident there, so I know a little about what happens there. I don't think we're unique in it. I think we're good at it.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think we also have geographically, you know, if we're thinking about it specifically for tuition students,
Yeah.
we have that advantage, you know, Twinfield schools
They're
in
on
that
the
direction.
edge. Yeah.
They don't have the same choice town surrounding them that we do. So a student who, we're essentially competing for the same pool of students, but it takes 25
It's
minutes to go
25
that way.
minutes to get there
Yeah.
for having, yeah.
Good point.
To that end, so would an option one really trying to understand sort of what programming each of these options sort of allows? I mean, does option one allow us to grow programming, to add additional stuff, or does that just allow us to breathe with the programming that we have? I mean, or is that more of option two, that, hey, that's going to give us room to breathe, but doesn't allow us room to grow? Option one gives us room to grow.
Yeah.
Option three, obviously the new school, that's greenfield, and that will give us whatever we want it to give us, because it's, you know, that's shiny and new, but understanding what those two options really give us for those types of programs, especially regarding some choice students would be helpful.
Yeah, I brought up when we got to get together 3 years ago, that there was no master plan for the school.
Mhm.
You said, oh, you need some more classrooms, like spot them down here. There was no idea of expansion in the future, and what can you do? And I think of these options here, you're more flexible with the elementary over there. And you can add on to these other structures in that direction. But easier.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that option one is room to grow. Option two is more just breathing room and a little bit of expansion, and then option three also gives that room to grow.
No, you have two.
Especially for things like, you know, we think about something like a theater program, for example. Option two doesn't really do much with the auditorium.
Yeah.
Option one and option three both are talking about a theater that we could actually house a theater program. Yeah.
Does option one actually include a new, I mean,
It does.
Option one
it's a
has a-
renovation of the auditorium.
It's a new auditorium.
It ends up being a new one.
Yeah, and then
That's just how it's cited.
And then it's on the ground floor, I believe, too. Which
It's
is a
next to
huge
the letter, yeah.
accessibility piece of our
Right.
current one.
Yeah.
If you're looking at least one of those images, it's next to the letter U. I don't think it's related to that letter,
Yeah.
but you can see where it's drawn in. Properly.
I saw where it was. I was just looking for.
Yeah,
Option one essentially the demo.
well, you can see it there as well. It's up a few slides. I'm not sure which I'm looking
Yeah,
at.
it is.
It gets really blurry when you zoom in.
Yes.
You can drive.
But it's up a couple pages.
I believe it is. What am I looking at? I'm on, I think,
Agree.
oh, you know where you can also, I just zoomed in on the tech. That's how I see it. But it's also slide
The auditorium's in a
like 7 or
very
8 or
similar
something.
space, but downstairs.
Even earlier, slide.
Yeah, Mark.
The new school addition that we talked about. Somewhere down the line, I heard that it was gonna accommodate 450 students. Did we build a new school that would only hold 450 students?
The brand new one, option three.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a crazy number to me. That sounds like way too low. I mean, we're approaching 400 and we had 509. I keep going back to that, but that's a real number. And someday we may exceed that real number, and I would think we'd build something that would accommodate that.
What I recall from our conversations with Truex is their rough sketch to give us the rough numbers was about that number, but that's not vetted out at all. And so if we wanted to say we want a school that can hold 500 kids, it's gonna cost a little bit more because then that's adding
Right,
square
right.
footage. But it probably isn't a lot more at that point.
But if you've got the overall master plan.
Yeah.
You do build for what you need right then, and then you have a plan for expanding that. As you grow. If you can get the bond.
I was gonna say, we might grow faster than the 20-year bond or whatever you get for a bond.
Well, that's,
I can't see us going any under 20-year bond for that amount of money.
No.
Mm.
I can't do that.
Definitely not.
Now, another thing that I don't know that is addressed in this, but I know for a fact that the 57 building is not made with cement blocks. It's made with cinder blocks, and there's quite a
Oh.
difference. Exactly. Cinder blocks are very, very soft blocks, and I don't even know that. If it was me and I owned a cinder block, whatever, I wouldn't add on to it, I wouldn't fix it, I would tear it down.
Mhm. I think that's why they were saying that that's a full tear down of that 1957 section and.
And that could be why, because they
Yeah.
tested it, and that's,
Yes.
that is the problem.
What they found was that, and they presented it to us not in those terms, that's really good to hear, another reason why. But what they said was there were multiple reasons that the 57 building would be very hard to add on to structurally.
I mean, there is some cement blocks in there because we renovated here and there, but
But most of it.
most of it's cinder.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Well, that's commensurate with.
Yeah, even when we were looking at the air handler project a couple of years ago, they were concerned that the 57 roof would not support new equipment.
Very concerned.
Good.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't
They wouldn't put
put in something on there at all. No.
And so it sounds like that's the section that like.
So the 57 building is the auditorium upstairs.
Yeah,
The
Classrooms.
preschool, kindergarten,
Preschool.
wing and below.
it used to be our gym.
The old
Right,
gym.
yeah, I remember hearing- yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm just, learning this.
that actually on the eastern side of that whole gymnasium in that 57 building at one time,
Glass block.
the above the glass block was actually tipping out about 8 inches.
Wow.
And we brought it back. I had masons come in and roofers come in, and we brought it back,
So that would be where the new.
held it in place,
Hmm.
repaired it.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to put, the new windows and insulation below it. So probably that will hold itself now, but for a while, it tipped out badly, and it was like, looking like it was gonna just fall out.
Yeah, the basketball teams all lined up along the glass blocks in metal chairs, so you definitely wanted playing time. Because it was horrible in the winter time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Those chairs are freezing.
Not summer was probably hot, right?
Gives you incentive to play better.
We'll have a few of those glass blocks downstairs. Yep, they're on a shelf.
Oh, down on the shelf, down the basement.
Yeah, not,
There was
not,
a few.
I don't think there's any still in the building.
No,
Well, you
still,
might
no,
auction them off with inscribed names on them. for
We
people.
can laser print right on them
There you
for a couple $100 a square block and laser make a little money for the building, put them in a display if they don't want to
I
buy.
hate to disappoint you, but I don't think they're the colored ones. I think they're clear.
It wasn't quite as exciting,
No.
but still, we can put a bear logo on it. Start with school store.
All right, we'll get the wood forge. Get the wood forge going.
It might be in that settings doc. That you can find
I'm
online.
sorry, I get you.
Well, all right. What else?
Yeah, do we, I know we wanted to have, Truex, I guess, do a quick presentation of just the options, and that's sort of our action
Yeah,
item.
I think that.
From this, if they can come in
Yeah,
2 weeks,
It would be good if we can get the whole group here,
yeah.
everyone. Well, you can do it on Zoom too, some people.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to get everyone there.
You mean everyone in our committee, in our
Yeah.
advisory group and our
Yeah.
committee?
Now, I believe they've done this for the school board, though, correct?
Yes.
They've done those, so it might be worth also just reviewing. I'm sure that's been recorded like
Mhm.
by Zoom, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
if we can get, I'm sure you don't remember the date of the meeting off the top of your head, but,
It was before March, right? It was before you were.
It was before I came on board, yes, it would have been before March.
So it wouldn't be too hard to track down, but I wouldn't know.
but if
I
they
think it was
can't, if
last
they,
fall.
okay, so if they can't come and give it, maybe we can
We can do
try to
that.
find it and
Yeah.
review what they, that'll be our backup plan. I guess for next meeting, if they can, if they can, obviously having them come in and talk live. And address some of these questions would be really good to have.
You're fine if they join via Zoom.
Yeah, I think that's,
I mean, they might be able to come, but
I would think they would want to pitch it as hard as they could.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Just say, hey, you know what, whatever, we'll be there.
yeah,
They can stay down the Comfort Inn if they need to.
I know it's a long drive across the mountains there, but.
Well, Cam lives just down in Barrier Montpelier or
Yeah,
something like
okay.
that, so he's not as.
Perfect. Yeah, there's self,
It might work.
yeah,
Well, I've got a question for the overall schedule.
yeah,
If we actually cannot look at the financial end of it before January and the new ed specs for, for that. Do we have a lot to do between now and then, except for spreading the word and perhaps educate people about the options? And does that mean that we meet every other week, or do we meet once a month, or, that's what I'd like to know.
That's a great idea, because
Yeah.
we can just pedal our wheels and do the same thing every meeting.
right.
Yeah,
And waste, my grandson's playing soccer right now, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Well, yeah, I know Doug was very concerned about due diligence. I think to your point, though, there's a lot of due diligence already done, right? There's this many pages of it.
well, if all of us do look at the report and do look at the options, I mean, that's the big thing.
That's a big thing, but to that end, yeah, we might be. It might be very clear to all of us, like, okay, this is sort of the way that we want to go forward. The impact and how well we can actually sell that, and if that's even a feasible option for us. We might have to wait till January to figure that out.
That's what I was thinking when he brought that up. We have no data on what the impact's gonna be financially per household. Especially for, guys like me that are fixed income. Those
Yeah.
people really wanna know the dollar.
Sure.
What's it gonna do? What's each one of those packages gonna cost us in our tax
Mhm.
money? So,
So we can certainly get to worst case scenarios with, so the current way that these are funded is just straight bonding. There's no help from the state. There's no help from,
right now, there's no help.
right.
It could be after January.
There could be. So that's my point. Is like our
Yeah.
worst case scenario
Right.
will be this. So if in our worst case scenario, it's palatable that we would go with, the most expensive option or what have you, then that makes things very easy. It might be the case that, yeah, in our worst case scenario, it's not palatable to spend that much. And then what actually is something that we can spend. So that will be, I think having at least our worst case scenario understood sooner rather than later would be very good. I know Mark had some information about it. So hopefully we can hear more from him in 2 weeks. And also hear from Truex in 2 weeks, and then I think we can decide if we're gonna do a monthly or bi-weekly meeting after that. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Since we've already advertised the 28th as a meeting date.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought I saw the 21st, or was that a different?
21st is open
21st
house.
is open house.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh,
yes,
that's me. Yeah.
yes,
There's a spaghetti dinner.
There's gonna be high school tour guides. Giving tours. As of today.
that's 5:30, right?
At 5:30, yes.
Okay,
There's one of them right there. You committed, and even if you didn't actually say it out loud, I wrote down that you committed. Yeah, no, he's always up for helping.
Yes, it's not gonna take back on that year. People come out and look at it.
Oh, yeah, I forget there's,
Is there a place where you can get the data on the student, number of students that break down by class right now, or is that available to the public or?
Yes, that'll be part of the board meeting next month, but we can get it. for you
Okay.
if anything.
And so there must be some sort of historical, like you were mentioning.
Yeah,
But something, so to get some sort of,
I can't believe we can't get that number.
Yeah,
It really
got it
upsets
going
me.
back.
we don't
another
need to go
year.
back to what year were you talking about?
97, 95, 96, 97. It was when I was coaching, because we went from Division 4, to Division 3.
Yeah.
Boys and girls.
We can get the last, the last many years. I don't know exactly how many. we
I mean,
have.
that's
That
always
was,
gonna be changing depending on,
Right.
whether people want to move into Danville. or
Right.
move
And
out.
then, there's
Yeah.
ways to get projections. I don't know if the architect does that.
Robert Edgar did a lot of work on this.
Oh, right,
He's
right.
Mathematical modeling.
yeah, I wonder.
based on
that-
population.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows.
Gotta go.
And-
You have
and-
high school.
Oh, we got-
That
yeah,
there
really.
also,
I'll take over.
what we found out is also included the birth rate in so many years. It was so technical.
Oh my.
It was,
Yeah.
oh,
Right, that's.
I'm sure
It was-
Robert has his
Good
numbers
numbers from Robert.
it
for
was
which
amazing
would help
work,
for projections stuff.
amazing.
And we have an in, so.
Excellent, yeah.
Sorry.
That would be good to have, also be good to have, yeah, the breakdown. I would be actually really interested to understand the breakdown of choice students before COVID, after COVID. Especially since this Connect program has attracted, or at least grown with that. That'd be
And maybe the number of homeschool that. They're homeschooled for now, but most likely will be coming back after a certain period.
A
Do
large
we have
number,
that data?
a large number came back. There is some data on that. A large number of homeschool students came back after COVID, especially after.
Mandates were lifted.
But not even that. It was the first, after remote learning was lifted. A lot of
Okay.
people opted for homeschooling
Sure.
during the remote year as opposed to sticking around and sort of doing a remote option.
Yeah.
Most of those people came back
Good.
after that. So I think for the most part, the folks who are homeschooling right now in Danville are pretty consistent homeschoolers.
So maybe 5 years worth is enough? Or do we need more?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, if we could even get like our current year, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can-
Maybe that would-
5 years.
So that's-
That I can get from the school.
Yeah.
An assistant fairly easily. She
Yeah, they would.
would answer my email.
On that subject, a couple of people asked about the video that they put out.
Yes.
I think there's 14, that was it 14 or 16 desks in the French room. They wondered, are those rooms full all the time?
Mhm.
And obviously it's probably not, but.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the? I don't know what, okay,
The
on
occupancy
the
rate.
first, the occupancy rate per period. So if you have, and this is ridiculous, but let's say you
Yeah.
only have 6 kids in there. 6 students in there, for each period. Obviously, you don't need 14 desks in there. But if you have 12, 6, 11, then you need that,
Right,
that
you
full
need the
size.
max.
Yeah.
Most teachers are pretty good at getting us to remove excess chairs and tables. In fact, they just.
Yeah,
haul it.
so
Because
every-
they don't want, I mean, they don't want the.
Right, right.
They want the furniture. So most teachers go with, what'd you say, like one or two more seats than they've got kids? Thomas, would that match with, I mean, science lab's different because those tables are kind of stuck in there.
I think it's
think
called
most-
like a
you think
peak
most
performance measure.
Every high school room right now is
Okay,
every high school room right now is either at the highest class number or
Or-
one over.
or one
With
over.
extra- With any other furniture, if there is much excess furniture now
Yeah.
moved up to that white building.
right.
To answer that question a little bit more, we have been flexible in some cases, like high school English teachers. Last year, we had 2 periods at the end of the day
Yes.
where the teacher who occupies this current room, which is tiny, had 15 kids and the other teacher had a smaller number, so they actually switched at the end of the day. So to some extent, we do have teachers moving around to accommodate that. But to be able to do something like that would essentially mean every single high school teacher is on a cart. Nobody has their stuff stored in their room because
Right, if you were to use the space.
Be
at your
infinitely
maximum,
flexible
yeah.
to where you have 6 and where you have 20.
And that is not
And
a
that's
sustainable model.
no,
Right. Right.
we lose teachers pretty fast.
You lose teachers and it doesn't allow them to create the environment they're looking for, but their content area. It's not appropriate on a regular basis.
It not necessarily the furniture moving, but just to prove that there's more than 4 to 6 kids in this classroom all day.
Right.
Why? What do you
Yeah,
mean
what,
prove
yeah,
it?
I'm not sure what you're,
We have,
Well,
we have
that was-
enrollment data, we have our class rosters, what?
That's perfect, because someone's gonna ask for that.
what
Well,
are they gonna, I'm
You're trying to anticipate the, yeah.
okay,
There will be challenges to the video.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to
I see what you're saying.
gather stuff before it's,
I love how you know when these things are already coming. So, yeah, I mean, I think, again, like.
What?
There's, yeah. I think
So, I think
most
I-
people there.
I think what will be helpful is as we meet. I'll keep a list and gradually chip away at these, if, as we think of, if any of us think of or hear. Those kinds of challenge questions or other kinds of questions. We'll start gathering them, and before we do big presentations, I think as a group, we can put together a fact book. Not necessarily a document that gets handed out to everybody. Well, possibly a public one, or just for us to have some of this data in front of us, so that when someone says, well, what is the average class size? Well, it ranges from this to this. It ranges from this to this, and and we all have that available, or
I think
Someone
making
has
it
it available.
available, the more information people have,
Mhm.
the less they're gonna worry about this big unknown.
Right.
Like you were mentioning, look at all that space, is that even being used? And, just presenting that, you already have this, these rooms are filled to either capacity or one
Right.
more, or whatever you were saying.
Right.
That, because they don't know, they're not in here,
right.
they don't know.
They don't.
And
And-
they're
Fair
gonna worry that you're gonna try to pull something over their eyes.
and given
or
that more
maybe-
information, you're more transparent.
Yeah.
For example, just say,
Let's have it ready.
oh, there's 12, there's 12 in this class, so we need. An argument may come up that, well, if there's 12 here and 4 in these other ones, why don't you just take a couple that,
What, a couple of kids?
um,
Is that your- is that
That-
you think
that
folks
may
think?
be a
Yeah, no,
question, so
They might.
I'm just
I
giving
know.
you.
I mean, right, that's, that's. the
Giving you
element,
heads
the
up
easy one.
to
We're not
be
gonna
prepared for-
force kids to enroll in a class because of the number of
Prepared
kids.
for
Yeah.
certain challenges.
Sorry, Thomas, you can't take calculus because there's 12 kids and there's only 11 desks. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to
Yeah.
move you into.
I don't know.
Agro school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Somebody might think that way.
A big percentage of this school was built on the old model. About equal classroom.
Mhm.
Okay, I've, we have an approach now that is for flexibility. And you get large spaces, small spaces, you get you get the breakout rooms for the smaller groups. for example.
Right.
And that's flexibility, which we didn't have with the old school designs.
Mhm.
There were boxes that you cram students into, you feed them information, they regurgitate, then they get their diploma. That was the old model.
I don't forget the part where they get graded and sorted like eggs.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Sure.
What else?
So to that end, do we have, the other part of transparency, stuff I was curious about, do we have, programs or educational opportunities that we're looking to offer that are on sort of the roadmap that we cannot in our current facilities?
Yeah.
And what are those impacts that they'll look like?
Yeah, we'll gather that.
And which ones were eliminated?
Right, or
Right.
have we had
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
limit?
what have we got?
That might be,
And what
yeah,
does,
more heavy.
I mean, the program that you started is great. What limitations do you have being in a temporary space? And yeah, how much does that limit
Yeah.
your ability to actually conduct that?
Restrooms.
Yeah,
So
I think the
we
two
can-
biggest things that jump to mind right now, and we could, we'll do this more officially, but the one, when we hear from students who maybe want to come here, we hear a lot about theater. We're like, oh, do you have a theater program, a drama program?
Okay.
And even if we have an auditorium currently, if it's being used as an elementary music classroom, which it is
Yeah.
pretty much all day long, we can't do anything there. So that's,
And it isn't the 88.
yeah, no,
No,
and
it
that
is
is
not.
so that's one, and then the other is that the shop space is used as a shop and a maintenance bay and a ceramic studio. So any of those sculptural arts, visual arts, and shop classes can't really, they're constrained right now. The design number one in that talked about essentially they took a whole chunk out of the middle and turned it into a 21st century maker space and also shop, which will. And then gave the maintenance folks their own smaller, like, maintenance bay. So that's not combined.
Moving up, aren't they?
Perhaps. So,
Yeah, I mean, ever since we had to make the maintenance office the principal's office because we ran out of space. Like, we put them in the basement.
Okay, so that's good to sort of have a couple of those
Yeah,
there, especially, yeah, if something like theater or drama brings in. Yeah. Folks, I'm sure. There's plenty of interest in that.
The tech program too is
Big
Absolutely.
right now.
huge.
Real
right
big.
now.
yeah.
There's such a shortness of all those people, plumbers, electricians, builders,
Welders,
Welders.
everything.
any of those things that go through the tech. They just, it's such a shortage.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we need the facility to be able to.
You're right.
to do
Yeah.
You
that.
need something bigger than
yeah,
shop.
Yeah,
Well, $1, that big dollar.
yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's a concern.
We
So
would gather
hopefully,
some of that.
yeah, hopefully we can get some more info from Mark here in a couple of weeks. Because I know that he's been doing his homework and meeting with some folks to find out.
How many high school kids are there?
125. I think it's 125. So I'm gonna look to see exactly, because. Give me 1 sec to just make sure I'm using, press that button.
Like 25,
I think it's
30.
125 total.
30 class?
In a
like
grade,
year,
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it's seniors are about 40, and so some of them are a little smaller. Here you go, 9th grade is 25,
that's fair.
10th grade is
My
33,
graduating class was 45.
11th grade is
My
27,
graduating class 16.
40 in 12th grade.
High school is
I got that right, yeah.
125, okay, so.
Yeah.
125 high school students.
Yeah, so it is 125 high school students as of
Excellent.
today.
All right. So we have the Ask the True X is sort of our next action item. And some data around class sizes and student population and choice students. As much as we can get for in 2 weeks. We're a little past 7, so wanted to be respectful of everybody's time. Unless anybody else really wants to hang out and keep chatting, but other than that, do we have any other action items before meeting here in 2 weeks?
And make the motion we adjourn.
Second.
All right.
All right, thank you, everybody. Oh, goodness.
You give me a reminder.
We're good.
Thanks for facilitating.
Yeah, Eric, thank you very much. I mean, I'll do it anytime, but I'm really.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
We're on.
No worries. Thank you.